because I know what I'm supposed to do now. I'm supposed to take all the energy of all my Hollywood moments from this point on and help the collective. God, that's so good. Because partly what ends up happening when Anana comes online, and yet you like have this desire to go in the languages, and like, I don't need to turn anything of me anymore. I turned. I'm good. What am I doing with this? What am I doing with this energy? Now I know what to do with this energy. I can ask the Rukkhatakucha to help me go into the Akashic record of the collective and start sweeping all of that crap out. Because it needs to come down. It needs to calm down. Now, can I use an example with you guys about the Akashic record of the collective that I personally had to turn? This was really confusing for me. This was extremely confusing for me when this happened. And I might tear up a little bit. And it's not bad tears. It's just, it's just tears. It's whatever. Because I see the beauty in what I did and why I did it. But there's still that, oh my God, this was rough. This was a rough one. So I had this absurd thing that happened my entire life about feeling left behind. That I was going to be left behind. Everything was about me being left behind. And I didn't understand where this was coming from. Like it didn't make any sense to me. So translate this into my relationship with my marvelous husband. So absurd, I laugh now. We would be on a walking trail, and when we were jogging, my husband has longer legs than me, and even walking, he just has a longer stride. I mean, I'm 5'8", he's 6'2". Obviously, he has a longer stride than me. So when we were in our best shape, and when we were living in Bend, and we were teaching a fitness class, there was this beautiful river trail that we would go on, usually twice a day. But if it didn't happen to be twice, at least once, and we got to the place where we would jog it together. I couldn't keep up with him. Are you kidding me? Like, now, hear this, because there's several ways you can look at this. So Ken would just do his pace, and he would outpace me. And so he would be running ahead. Now, some of you might go, well, God, that's just rude. He wouldn't wait up for you. No, he was doing exactly what he needed to as my freaking mirror. Because my fear was being left behind. So what would happen is he would get ahead of me, and because it was a river trail and there's trees and there's turns and there's, I would lose sight of him. And when I would lose sight of him, I would freak out. Like I would panic and I would have anxiety. I mean, it was awful. And I can't even begin to tell you how many times that I would ask him, and I would say, if you can't see me, can you stop and wait for me? Can you just please stop and wait for me? And he would get a little perturbed with me. He's like, we're on a loop. You start here and it's a loop, and you go back to the same place you started. Like, what is your issue? And I did not know why I had this anxiety, and it was so crippling. Oh my God, it was crippling. And it affected everything in my entire life of functioning in this avatar suit. And I never understood why. I'm like, why is this? God. And when I started transmuting some of the shadows, I actually got into some collective shadows. And I had memory of being Mary Magdalene. Now, am I saying that I actually walked her out? I don't think I actually walked her out, because I didn't get to experience like long stints of Mary Magdalene, but there was something very strong there. But what I remembered was the murder of watching Ishu be murdered, and how helpless that feeling was, and of separation. And the other part of it was of being left behind. Of being told that I couldn't go. So, I cry because this is a very, very strong pattern. Fear of loss, fear of separation, fear of being left behind. This is not just mine. This is part of a collective that I can tell I still need to work on. I was able to sweep it out for myself and how it was, like echoing out in my personal life. I don't feel that for myself right now, but I still feel that there's an echo out there that's affecting many, because this energy was so strong, and it's reverberated out, and that's really what's keeping Westworld still afloat. And this happens every time we have a loss of a loved one when they pass away. It echoes. It's just like, the separation over and over and over and over and over and over again, because of the concept of us not realizing that we are eternal beings, and that death and separation is just a lie. It's just part of the Westworld thing. And so every time someone is going through a traumatic loss, we just keep shoring it up. We just keep shoring it up. So can I share with you another side of this? So this was imagery that I had to sweep out for myself, that just seemed to follow through many, many lifetimes of my Akash. It was like my area of responsibility, if you could say it that way. Here you go, Carrie. Here you go, fragment of Aleph. This is the area that you are choosing to be responsible for, that you're going to sweep out. Let's just say it that way. This is the area that you are choosing to sweep out, if you so dare. I just heard the Mission Impossible theme in my head. That's so freaking funny. Because it's not impossible, it's very possible, because with God, all things are possible, right? I am Allah. I have the ability to do it. So I'm going to do it. So here's the other side of this, and this is what gave me hope. I'm being very personal with you guys today. I'm hoping this is helping you, because I'm feeling like I need to share it. Maybe it's just for my sake to hear it again, but I'm hoping this will help you guys. Years ago, I had a very, very strong vision. Some of you may remember hearing me talk about this, and maybe you don't. I don't know, but I feel like it, because it goes with watching the murder of Yeshua and then being told that I couldn't go. I couldn't just transcend out of here yet, because I hadn't been able to. I didn't translate everything that I needed to translate, because I hadn't finished my job. I needed to stay for my responsibility, my choosing to respond to Sweep Out the Akash, and why I decided to be here. But I had this was years ago, like probably 20 years ago. And it was in that, it was a very, it was a dream, but it was a lucid dream. It was like it was happening. It was not just that dreamy, floaty state. It was like it was really happening. And I was at my parents' old house, and I was in their kitchen, and all of a sudden I saw this mist come in the kitchen. Now, this is when I was in Christianity, so I had a very strong thought of what demons were, and all of those egregores, and Satan and the devil and all that. I mean, that was my world that I was living in at the time. And so this mist came into my parents' kitchen, and I was standing there, and it was purple. It was purple, and it started swirling around. And so the first thing I started doing was trying to cast it out. I was using every single kind of prayer and every strategy that I learned while I was in Christendom to cast this demon, whatever it was, out. And it started moving. It started moving towards my parents' living room. And of course, I'm just, wagging my finger at it, and I'm casting that in Jesus' name. And I mean, I am going for it with massive gusto. And I start hearing laughter. Now, this laughter wasn't not the laughter that you would imagine a demon would do, like this evil mwahaha. It wasn't that. It was laughter like, oh, isn't that cute? Like, oh my God, that is so cute that she would be doing that. It was that kind of laughter. And of course, I didn't understand what was going on because I recognized I recognized the energy that was behind the laughter. And it wasn't making sense to me. Like, I don't get this. Why am I being laughed at? And it's not an evil laugh. It's just kind of like laughing at something that a child is doing that is so cute. You're like, oh my God, that's so adorable, right? That's the kind of laughter that it was. And then the clouds started changing, and I saw shape. So it's moving, and then it stops, and I'm still trying to cast out demons here. And the laughter, this chuckle is happening, this cute little laugh. And then I see thorns. I saw a crown of thorns. Now, mind you, I still wasn't getting it. I was dense. So I saw a crown of thorns, and I saw a form take shape. And I still didn't recognize it, though. That's just like, hello? I still couldn't recognize what it was. Because at that point, I stopped, and I didn't even know what to do with it, because here I was thinking it was a demon, but I'm seeing something, and it was like cognitive dissonance was going on within me in that moment. So I just allowed it to happen, just observing it, not knowing what to do with it. And a man appeared before me. And it's interesting because it wasn't the appearance of like white Jesus. It wasn't white Jesus. There was darker hair, darker eyes, darker skin. He had a beard, but it was very close, like trimmed stubble. And his hair was in a ponytail. By the time he manifested in the shape of man, the crown left. It was like it was a symbol for me to understand what I was seeing, and I just couldn't comprehend it. And so I'm looking at a man, and he wasn't even all that tall. He was just slightly a little taller than me. If I would say anything, maybe 5'10". And I'm looking at this man, and he's looking at me, and he's just got this huge smile on his face. He still has that smile of, oh, isn't she cute kind of thing. Oh, isn't that funny? Isn't that cute? And I'm looking, and he's wearing like a white tank top, and he's wearing blue jeans that are rolled up, and doesn't have any shoes on. And that's how he looks to me. And I'm looking at him, and he continues then moving into the living room, and he goes and he sits down in one of my parents' recliners. And so I follow him in. I'm still trying to figure out who this is. I'm just looking like, who is this? Who is this? Why are you in my parents' house? I don't get anything that's happening. Until I looked down and I saw his feet. And I really looked at his feet. And when I saw his feet, they were scarred. And it was like in that moment, I knew who I was looking at, that I couldn't see before, but I knew who I was looking at. And I dove down to his feet, and I buried my face, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried. And I couldn't even look at him, and I'll tell you why. I was so full of ego back then. This is the power of Ainana. Everything of that which I am not was surfacing, and I couldn't stand in his presence. All the pain, all the shame, all the guilt, everything that I was not was just like right there in my face, and I couldn't even look at the pureness of Ainana. I'm using that now because I know what it was. I didn't know what that was, before. I was just like, oh, it's Jesus, I can't look at him. It wasn't Jesus, it was Yeshua. It wasn't white man Jesus, it was Yeshua. Ishu or Isu that I was looking at, that I remembered. And he bent forward, and he touched my shoulders to get me to rise up. And when I looked at him, when I saw his face, I threw myself on him. I jumped on his lap, and I wrapped my arms around him, and I just held, and I held so tight, and I held so tight, and I held so tight. And there was a gentle kiss on my neck. That was nothing, there was no sexual energy on this. It was like love and just nurturing and beauty, and it was expansive light is what it was. And it was so incredible, and it was so safe, and it was so inviting. And then all of a sudden it's like I realized, whoa, wait a minute here. And I shoved myself back and I looked at him and I said, why are you here? Like, that didn't make sense to me. You left out of this place. Why are you here? Why are you here in this moment? And he looked at me and he said these words, you never have to come back here again. Those were the most beautiful words I have ever heard, because I knew, I didn't know really what it meant, but I knew that I didn't have to be in Westworld ever again. I never had to keep cycling through here. I didn't know what I was moving into, and I didn't even know what he really was saying. Like, I didn't have a comprehension of it, but I do now. And these are tears of joy and gratitude because I freaking found my way out. He was projecting Ainana on me, and he said, you never have to come here again. And the reason why I was granted that was because I was sweeping out egregores that were trapping a whole lot of people. And it was a seed that was given to me. And that seed began to germinate. And when I got a hold of the Hebrew and the Aramaic language, it began to water that seed. And water it, and water it. And 13 years later, after finding that which was the water to my soul, I now found Ainana in me. And that is what I project on everyone that I can. Because just like that lucid time and what it was for me marked my soul. It was a seed planted in my soul. And that is why Ainana is a superpower. Because once that seed is set from Ainana, it's just going to continue to grow. Please hear what I'm saying today. When you are in Ainana and you project it on another, it is a seed that will grow and it can't be stopped. And this is why those that are the egregores, that are the soulless ones, cannot be in the same place, and why we don't need boundaries anymore, because they literally are repelled. Because if someone that is soulless, somebody that is an ego, egregore, that comes in my space and I begin projecting that on there, it's a hook. I just snag them. And they're either going to turn towards the light and become it themselves, or all of the power that they've been taking will just get more diminished, more diminished, more diminished, more diminished. So I thank you all for being here, because you're allowing me to continue to project that on all of you, and all of you are already generating light because you're working with the letters, you're working with the languages. So I'm helping to water that seed because it already started. You already got hooked. Zadi. It's the letter Zadi. You already got hooked. Woohoo! What does that mean? Fishers of men. Hooking you and pulling you out, man. I'm pulling you out. And then, oh God, I just got goosebumps. And then we become hunters. You become fishers of men, and then you become hunters. And why? And what is the hunters do? They go and collapse all those egregores. Haleva. Oh my God, this is so fantastic. These are things that I had always wondered about when I was in the church that was never explained. And now I fully comprehend it. I intimately know this is the truth. So our jobs, and this isn't something that can be done through the ego.